Hi everyone, so I'm going to start with the reusable face wipes tutorial this morning. It's a really useful tutorial for at the moment because let's face it, if there's one thing we're not really trying to get our hands on, it's cotton pads and baby wipes. And to be quite honest, if we can cut down on using those kind of things, it's better for the environment anyway. So I made the switch to reusable face wipes for myself and for my daughter about at least a year ago now. I do make and sell these, but they're a really nice project to get back into using a sewing machine with. Now, you need about 25 centimetres sort of a width of toweling and plain cotton, or just make it off what you've got lying around the house. So this morning I'm using an old towel that I've already cut a chunk out of to use for something else, and that's great. Old towels are perfect for this project. So if you've got one that's looking a little bit dodgy, got a couple of random stains on it, or toddler threw up on it, yeah, you know what I mean, use that. And the other bit of cotton I've got lying around is left over from another project, but actually it's a vintage bed sheet that I picked up at one of the charity shops over here called Emma's, which is really nice because it means that everything I'm using this morning has already had a previous life and it's getting a new life. Stick to plain cotton. Polyester isn't very absorbent, it won't be very nice to wipe your face with. Don't use fleece, same problem. It's a synthetic fibre, it's not absorbent. Something else to use, if you're ordering fabric offline, or if you're in the shops looking for something in particular, or you're wanting to make these as a present and you don't want to use an old towel, bamboo's great, and there's lots of really nice bamboo towelings out there. They're a little bit more expensive, not shockingly so, but a little bit more, but they are a really nice environmentally friendly alternative. The bamboo's more environmentally friendly because it grows quicker, and because it grows quicker, it's quicker to produce. So that's the environmental option for fabrics. Like I said, even more environmental, use what you've got lying around at home. Don't use a jersey fabric. Don't use any, so basically don't use anything that stretches when you pull it. It'll make your life a nightmare to sew with, especially for a first project. Matching thread, not a necessity. Sometimes I like to use a contrasting thread if I don't have the right colour. I've got my sewing machine threaded up with pink because I fancy it. And because it will look pretty and because you guys will be able to see it better. You need a pot of pins. I've turned an old boiled sweet tin into my pin pot so that when I knock it off the table, the pins don't go everywhere, which with a small child around is really useful. Also, if you have cats or dogs, you don't really want them to get hold of any of these pins, so it's quite nice to have a pot that if you knock it over by accident, you're not going to have to spend hours looking for the pins that you've dropped. Scissors, fabric scissors. You probably could go away with a decent pair of kitchen scissors or a decent pair of fabric scissors. Sorry, not fabric scissors, paper scissors. That's fine. It's fine to use those for cutting fabric. Please, whatever you do, don't use your fabric scissors for cutting something else. It will ruin them. The blades will just get really blunt and they won't cut your fabric anymore. And in general, fabric scissors are really expensive. I've not brought any since I lived in France. The last time I brought a pair of fabric scissors, it was from John Lewis. And I have to admit, their own brand I've always found to be pretty good. By the way, anything I mentioned like that today, it's not endorsed, it's just my own opinion. And other than that, we're ready to get cracking with this. So, stage one. And I'm looking at the handout as I do this for you guys, so that if you're following the handout that's available on my website, you can see what I'm doing at each stage. So step one, you're going to cut out both your things. Now I'm doing the bigger size face wipes because that's what I need in our house at the moment. In the pattern, in the one available online, it's just for the smaller ones for sort of makeup removal, and they come out about 10 centimetres. At the end. These ones, or the one size I'm doing now, about 25 centimetres, and that's really good for toddlers. It's perfect for keeping next to the kitchen sink and just wiping those little mushy faces. I'm also doing this one today because I want some more flannels in the bathroom. So I'm going to be making myself some bigger ones for washing my face at the end of the day, and I'll keep my smaller ones for taking my makeup off. Right, so if you're doing the small ones, a pin in each corner is more than enough. You don't need a pin every centimetre. And something else to do is just to use your hand and just run it over the pattern piece to make sure it's nice and flat. That way you know you're going to be cutting accurately. Now because I'm doing this bigger, I'm putting one in each corner and then one down halfway down each side. And using my fabric scissors, nice long cuts. If you do shorter cuts, you get an uneven edge. So put your scissors in place and do one nice long cut, move your scissors along and do the same again. If you do lots of little cuts, you just end up with a really raggedy, crooked edge, and it's a lot harder to sew with. Also, when you're putting your pattern piece down, don't put it in the middle of a piece of fabric, because then you won't be able to use, then you're not going to get the best use out of that piece of fabric. Right. The toweling, you're probably going to have to cut them all out in one layer. You won't be able to fold the fabric and cut. The cotton, now this piece of cotton is already semi-ironed. Ideally, you iron your fabric first. It makes it a lot easier to cut. Oh, sorry, I'm going to sneeze. No, we're all right. So, fold your fabric. This way you can cut two at once. Because this is an old bedsheet, I've got a large hem on it, so I folded it quite a bit. And I'm going to put my pattern piece just there. It means that cutting out is twice as fast. But you'll notice I've only folded enough to fit my pattern piece on. Don't fold it all the way and cut it out. Same again. Stick a pin in, run your hand over it, smooth it out, stick another pin in on the opposite corner. Corners first, and then if you're doing bigger ones, one more in between each side. If you want to make your own pattern piece, it's dead easy. You just, I think, I've taken a sheet of A4 here, folded it into a triangle and cut straight across to make sure I've got a square. Yeah, that's exactly what I've done actually looking at it. It's the easiest way, and I have to admit now that I'm running out of, I've started to run out of pattern paper. I wasn't expecting to go into lockdown, so I've just started using whatever I've got lying around for pattern pieces. Right. And that's that done. That's your fabric cut. Now, obviously, you're going to cut all. You can cut all of yours in one go. Obviously, I'm not going to do that right now. And in a very Blue Peter style, here's one I prepared earlier. You're going to pin them right sides together. Often toweling doesn't have a right side, but your cotton will. So you want the wrong side of your cotton facing out. Now, excuse me while I change camera angles. Right guys, so we're going to start here. Start halfway along one side. Okay? The other thing to bear in mind is do it this way up. Toweling underneath, cotton on top. And you'll notice that your sewing machine, and I've tried to put an angle where you can see, but I'm not sure it's very clear on this camera angle, but I might try again on a different video. There are ridges on your sewing machine, or there'll be lines marked. They're to help you sew straight. So I would say pick the line closest to your presser foot. This is a presser foot, and use that as a guide. Halfway along, down, put your fabric under, put the presser foot down, turn the needle to get turn the balance wheel. That's the big wheel at the end of your machine. Turn that towards you to get the needle in. And then sew a few stitches, press your reverse button, back again, and then all the way to the corner. When you get to the corner, put the needle in, lift the presser foot up, turn your fabric with the needle still in the fabric, and then go. And I'm going to show you that 4 times. So, balance wheel in, press foot up, turn your fabric, press foot down, go. Make sure your needle's in the fabric, press a foot up, turn your fabric, press a foot down, go. My needle's already in, so I'm not going to bother turning my wheel. Press a foot up, turn, go. Now, if you've done a good job and you've kept an even space from the edge all the way around, you should be about in line with where you started. Leave yourself on the smaller ones no more than 2 centimeters. On the larger ones, 3-4 centimeters is all right. Reverse, and the reason you reverse is to stop your seam from coming undone. So lift, pull it out. Now, I've seen lots of students make this mistake. They'll pull it this much and then cut their thread, and then their machine keeps coming unthreaded. Pull it more. Okay, pull it like 20 centimeters, then cut your thread. So when you've sewn all the way around the edge neatly, and you've made sure you've left your gap so that you can turn it around the right way, what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors and you're going to very carefully cut across the corners. This helps to get a nice neat corner when you turn it around the right way. You can use this on any project where you've got a corner. Make sure your pin's out the way. Be careful not to cut your seam. Get as close as you can without cutting any of your seam, and do that on all 4 corners. Something else you might notice is the angle I've put my pins at in. I've put them at right angles to the seam, so this means that when I'm sewing, if I catch the end of the pin, it doesn't break the needle on my sewing machine. Okay, so now what we're going to do, take all your pins out. You've left that little hole in it to turn it through, and it will probably be a little bit fiddly to do, but just take your time with it. It will come through. It might not seem like it will, but it will eventually. Find something pointy but blunt. So if you're a knitter or a crocheter, that might be the end of a knitting needle, or the wrong end, not the pointy end, the other end, or a blunt pencil, or in my case I'm using a paintbrush because there's always paintbrushes on my desk. I am almost there. There we go, turned round, and now if you use your pointy implement and you just push it through like that, you'll see you get a nice neat corner. Now get your ironing board out, give it a quick iron, press it flat, and then we're on to the last stage of doing the top stitch. Right, I'm going to go off quickly and give this a quick iron. Right, so what I've done is I've been away and I've ironed it. I've got nice neat corners because we snipped on the inside, turned it round, and I think I used the end of a paintbrush to do mine. Then what I've done is, as I've been ironing, I've tucked in the seam allowance on my opening, so it's now nice and neat, you can barely see it. And what we're going to do now is you're going to line up the fabric with the edge of your presser foot, and we're going to do a top stitch all the way around. Start well on your opening so that you know that is well closed. Okay. Right. So you can see, and I've just realised this is a far better camera angle, you can probably see the grooves now. And the edge of my fabric is lined up with the edge of my presser foot, ready to go. So, same as before. Turn your balance wheel so your needle's in, sew a little bit, reverse, sew again. When you get to the corner, same deal. Needle's already in, so I don't need to turn the balance wheel towards me. So lift, turn, go. Okay, and same as when we started, reverse and back. Give it one last press so it's all nice and flat, and cut any loose threads that you've got off, and you are ready to use your new face wipes, whether they're little ones for makeup or little faces or tiny faces, or if they're big ones for toddler faces. So happy wiping and happy sewing. Bye guys.